The desert stretched endlessly beneath a violet sky streaked with dust storms that danced like restless spirits. Captain Elias Draven had been sent to survey the remains of planet Xyra, a dead world once teeming with life now reduced to jagged canyons and seas of glassy sand. The air was thin, acrid, and vibrating with static energy from the frequent electrical storms. He'd seen many harsh planets in his life, but Xyra's barren beauty held a sinister sort of loneliness. He adjusted the visor on his suit, scanning the horizon with the sensors. Nothing unusual, nothing alive. That was until a faint shimmer caught his attention near the crater's edge. At first, he thought it was a trick of the heat waves, but then he saw it, movement. "Hello," he called cautiously, approaching. The figure was crouched, trembling, and hunched over like it carried the weight of the entire world. As he drew closer, he realized it wasn't human at all. Her skin shimmered in iridescent tones of sapphire and emerald, fractured by streaks of blood that glistened like wet metal. Her eyes, large and silver, looked up at him with fear and desperation. "Human, help me," she whispered, her voice musical yet strained, faltering as if each word cost her immense effort. Elias froze. An alien, injured, and alone on a planet thought to be dead. His military training urged caution, but something primal, the part of him that couldn't ignore suffering, pushed him forward. "I can help. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe," he said softly. The alien princess tried to stand but collapsed onto the sand. Elias hurried to support her, noting her slender form and delicate wings, folded awkwardly against her back, quivering like injured sails. "Who are you?" he asked as he gently lifted her into his arms. "Princess of the Elari," she managed, her breathing shallow. "We were attacked, betrayed." She coughed, a glittering mist escaping her lips. "I am the last." Elias's jaw tightened. "You're safe now. I'll get you out of here." He adjusted his grip and activated his gravjet pack, lifting them both into the thin atmosphere. The wind shrieked around them, and sparks of static energy danced dangerously close to her wings. They landed in a hollow among jagged rocks, a crude shelter but far safer than the open desert. Elias lowered her gently, setting her down on a bed of folded thermal blankets he carried in his pack. She flinched as he touched her arm, wincing from a deep gash that ran from shoulder to elbow. "I can't let you bleed out," he said. From his medkit, he drew antiseptic gel and carefully applied it to her wound. Her skin felt warmer than he expected, pulsing slightly, almost alive with faint light. "Why me?" she whispered, eyes closing briefly as she drifted between consciousness and exhaustion. "Because someone has to help you," Elias replied. "You didn't deserve this." She opened her eyes again, glimmering with gratitude and fear. "If they find me," her voice cracked, "they will destroy everything." "Who's after you?" he asked. "The Corvax," she said, her wings trembling. "They killed my people, want my planet, my crown." She coughed, tiny sparks of her energy flaring into the air. "I cannot let them win." Elias nodded, understanding more than she could have expected. The galaxy had its monsters, and some preyed on those too fragile to fight back. Yet here she was, regal even in her pain, relying entirely on him, a lone human in the midst of an interstellar conspiracy. Hours passed as he stabilized her, built a rudimentary shelter with his environmental tent, and monitored her vitals. The static storms of Xyra intensified, howling like ghostly whales across the sands. I can fly," she whispered suddenly, testing the strength of her wings. A small flicker of her energy made them shimmer, but she sagged immediately afterward. You need rest first. You can't fight while exhausted, Elias said firmly. I'll keep watch. As night fell, the desert's twin moons cast pale silver light across her injured form. He noticed scars along her arms, jagged patterns that told a story of battle and betrayal. She shivered despite the heat-retaining suit he had wrapped around her. I didn't think anyone would come, she said finally, voice barely audible. My people, we thought we were doomed. You're not alone now, Elias assured her. And we're going to fix that. I don't know how yet, but I will. The following day, the skies cleared enough for them to scout an escape. The Corvax drones were still patrolling the desert's edges, black specks glinting ominously in the sunlight. Elias carefully planned their route, using jagged rocks and ancient canyons as cover. With her weak but glowing energy, she clung to him as he navigated the treacherous terrain. The final stretch was the worst, a mile-long expanse of glass sand, where any movement would trigger the drone's sensors. Lean on me, Elias instructed. I'll shield you. They moved slowly, painstakingly. Halfway across, a drone spotted them, its sensors screaming red. Elias raised his arm and activated his grav shield, a rare piece of tech capable of deflecting energy scans. The shield hummed, and for a tense moment, the world seemed frozen. The drone passed overhead, oblivious, and they continued. Finally, they reached the ancient ruins of an Elari spacecraft, buried beneath sandstorms long before. Inside, she collapsed against a console, exhausted but alive. You saved me, she whispered, tears gleaming in her silver eyes. I owe you everything. You're not owed anything, Elias said softly. You survived because you're strong. You just needed a hand to get there. She looked at him then, eyes fierce yet vulnerable. Human. Perhaps one day our worlds will meet again. Not as stranger and savior, but as allies, friends. Elias smiled, feeling the weight of the galaxy's loneliness lift slightly. I'd like that. The princess touched her forehead lightly to his, a gesture of trust and bond among her people. Then, with a flicker of her wings, she ascended, her energy casting radiant light across the ruins. He paused midair, looking back. Remember me, human. And remember your promise. I will, he whispered, watching as she soared into the violet sky. Alone again in the desert of a dead planet, Elias felt the stirring of hope, a rare, precious thing that refused to die. The winds carried her glow into the horizon, a beacon of life in a world that had known only death. And somewhere deep in his chest, Elias knew that the story of the injured alien princess would forever change him, marking the beginning of a bond that neither distance nor time could sever. Elias watched as the injured alien princess rested against the ruins, her breathing shallow but steady. The desert winds howled outside, but inside the ancient Elari spacecraft, a fragile calm had settled. You saved me, she whispered, her silver eyes glimmering with tears. I owe you everything. You're not owed anything, Elias said softly. You survived because you're strong. You just needed someone to help you get there. For a moment, she seemed to gather every ounce of strength left in her frail body. Then, her wings unfurled, shimmering with faint light, and she hovered above the ground. Human. Perhaps one day our worlds will meet again, not as stranger and savior, but as allies, friends. Elias felt a weight lift from him, the loneliness of countless missions across the galaxy melting away. I'd like that, he replied, voice quiet but firm.